Oh my god, Wolf.
Oh my god, Wolf! Hello everyone, Mr. Happy here, and welcome to State of the Realm, your weekly Final Fantasy XIV podcast. This week is Spoilercast. We're all tired, but we're going to talk about lore anyway, because we're all irresponsible adults who can't seem to keep a schedule down packed, whether it be because GT Sport is launching at midnight, or one of us streamed too long, or the other one just needs a glass of whiskey to get through a hard day. Regardless of what it is, we've got lore to talk about today. Everything patch 4.1, the gloves are off, so let's get started. I'm, as I said, one of your hosts, Michael, Mr. Happy Poveromo. Of course, joining me is Sly, aka Slythefox, aka Sly, aka Greyfox, aka you, my boy Blue. How you doing?
As you said, tired.
Tired. Yeah. We're good. That's all. That's all we need.
Yeah.
That's it.
I got coffee.
Yeah, me too. I'm done with it. I got whiskey now, like I do almost every week. And as many of you probably figured out in the middle of the intro, because somebody was so excited.
Oh my god, Wolf.
Oh my god, Wolf. That should be the name of the episode now. It should be Oh My God, Wolf.
I'm sorry, it was really good.
So anyone who's wondering, Wolf makes GIFs or short videos of us every week, and Ethys was really enjoying this week's. I was like, that's way more accurate about Ethys than I think anyone really realizes until they think about it, because
that was probably my
I've
favorite.
seen you do that exact motion before, where you're like,
yeah, that's literally how I walk. Yeah,
I know it is.
yeah.
Well, you know,
it's not everyone.
Australia. Hi.
I'm
Yeah.
F.
Yeah. So
That's me.
So the reason why we're all tired, and I named all of our reasons out one by one. Sly was doing GT Sport at midnight. Is that not correct, Sly?
For 12 hours.
Yeah, how was that?
Fun.
Fun. There you go.
Fun.
That's as much energy as he has to have that discussion. And then he slept before the show, but not for very long. Not for very long at all. Then we have Ethys, who was streaming late last night, and he just had daylight saving. Everyone said you were late.
Yeah, I was later than usual, but it was still only until like 8 p.m. my time. No, I'm tired because I've got a secret project that's going on at the moment that I can't really talk about, which is frustrating. But yeah.
How was this last weekend for you? You gotta imagine you're tired after that too.
Oh god, I'm so tired after that. It was good though.
Does anyone? Well, you can talk about it now because we didn't talk about it the last time you were on.
What can I talk about now?
Wasn't the PAX?
No, it's coming up.
It's coming up. Well, then
I
tell
can't
them.
talk about that now, actually, though.
No?
So for those of you in Australia who are tuning in and are going to be in Melbourne over PAX, there is actually going to be a Final Fantasy XIV booth there for the first time ever. And it's going to be great. It's going to be awesome. I'm going to be there. Diyoshi TV is going to be there. We're going to be hanging out around the booth, as well as Hilmi Harry and a bunch of other people. And you can do the t-shirt challenge. You can be Susnu and the other one, and it'll be great.
The other one.
The other one. The other one is the one we're talking about today.
Yeah.
The other one. And I'm tired because I'm looking to move to Los Angeles, away from San Diego. So it's been. We had one place tell us that we were guaranteed to get it, and then they apparently, the person who applied before rescinded that they wanted it, so now we have to look for more places, which is a wonderful 2.5 hour drive there and a 2.5 hour drive back, and it's gonna be fun. So I'm super excited, and I'm already done with my whiskey before the show actually starts, so you can tell how excited I am. But anyway, anyway, now that we're all loosened up and we've cleared the air of why the show's a little bit late, just a few minutes late this morning. I'm surprised you actually already have your coffee. This is an episode, I don't think I've wanted so anxiously to do a spoiler cast as quickly as this one.
You never have. You always like to put it two weeks out, and it's annoying.
I think the expansion one we did 1 week out because of normal mode as well.
There's been a couple that we've done 1 week out.
Yeah.
It's rare. Very rare.
So why were you particularly anxious about this one, Mike?
This is, I feel, the best job they've done of a
patch.
of a not begin or end of expansion story patch. So not the 0.55s and not the 0.0s, but of a 0.1, 2, 3, 4, or even a part 1 of 5.
Really?
Yeah. With the except 3.5 is a tough one, but 3.5, I don't know, 3.5 going into 3.55, they said it was not like 2.5 and 2.55 where it was 2 full stories. It felt like half a story, so that's why I'm putting it a little bit a step above that. Whereas 2.55 was incredible and 2.5 I didn't like as much.
It's definitely the best 0.1 story patch that we've had so far. And I don't know what the community sentiment is at the moment, but that has gone such a long way for me to mitigate a lot of the sort of worries that people had about this patch in terms of stuff like Eureka being bumped further back and Relic being bumped further back. It's been nice just to be able to, like, I don't know, digest all of the scope of the story and lore that we've got.
Now, before we dive in too deep, we never we didn't get to ask you about the patch proper and what you thought of the content. Yeah, like Rabinaster and Comedy EX. What did you think?
I think Rabinaster is great. It's gorgeous. It really is. And people are really struggling with that second boss.
Good old Hushmal.
Good old Hushmal.
He's pretty lethal.
Yeah, he's pretty rough. That said, I don't think it's any more or less difficult than the other 24 mans that we've had. People will get their heads around it in a couple of weeks, no doubt. Well, hopefully. I guess we'll see. But I think it's great. Shinryu is a lot of fun. It's not quite as difficult as Thornton, but it's another one of those really sort of big, spectacular fights, which I think is going to go down as one of my favorites. And I haven't really done much else. I've been so run down with everything I'm doing at the moment. I've basically just done those and like a bit of the squadron stuff. Man, Wondrous Palace final boss squadron.
No, listen, let me tell you about Squadron because I'm over level 56 now with my squadron members. And never have I loved the archer class so much as I do now.
Yeah, just spamming engage and they keep using.
It takes 7 minutes to do Stone Vigil.
Holy shit!
And by the way, if you're like level 50 to like 50, it's like 500,000 EXP if you have like rested EXP and everything for yourself, not for them. It's 6,000 EXP. It's insane.
Yeah, I think it's really promising. I'm excited by the fact that they're going to be adding new dungeons every patch, I believe. And I hope they don't fix I hope they don't fix the engage thing. I hope that is considered a feature, not a bug, because it's amazing.
It's not a bug, it's a feature. Hey, the Lancers get full thrust every single
exactly.
or they get
Incredible.
life surge every full thrust if you spam engage.
The only thing that I would really like from squadrons would be the ability to like place where you want your tank to position.
I would like to place my tank on the fucking bench because the tanks are the worst part about squadrons.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's bad. Okay. But so you got your thoughts out of the way. I know Sly could probably talk about his thoughts now that he's done Shinryu a little while. I saw a tweet from you about it.
Yeah, it's...
Did you share my feeling about the final phase?
It is such a letdown.
Yeah, I agree. I think that last phase is a complete letdown.
And we as a static were talking about it. And we came to the conclusion that, yeah, this is... Well, not in my own words. I think it is between... What did we say? 03 and 04? I think?
No, 02 and 03.
02 and 03.
Yeah.
02 and 03. My static said this is for people who can't do 03. I'm like, oh, there's a modicum of truth there.
Listen, I think library phase on itself is harder than all of Shinryu, personally, for like pugs.
Yeah, it is. It is. And the final phase of Shinryu, there could have been a lot more done than just 2 wings.
They could have not made 23% of the last phase just standing on his back.
Yeah, I found that surprising. It was like 23 as opposed to like, you know, maybe 10.
It's Zentetsuken. Right. Like, Odin invented this, so...
Yeah.
So you guys reckon they basically just phoned it in for that last phase?
Yeah. The first phase, the dance, that's probably the best part. It's the toughest part and the best part.
Yeah.
The ad phase is pretty intense. It's like Sephiroth levels of intense, the ad phase.
Yeah. You know what else is intense?
What?
Circus Fire.
What?
Intense. You know, inside of tents.
Shut up.
Circus Fire. Come on.
No, for anyone who's missing this, he's saying intense. Like a tent. Like a circus tent.
Come on. You shouldn't have to explain that. That's hilarious. Alright.
And you and Sly, you like to say that I'm the one who makes the worst ones? Like...
Mm-hmm.
I don't know anymore. I think he's taking the mantle on that one. Alright.
And one last thing about it, like I think my judgment is kind of clouded by the fact that we were all BIS, so we kind of skipped shit. We were able to skip shit.
You can actually skip Soar. To be fair, his Soar is really easy.
Yeah,
because
like we did it as a part of Velvet Room raids on Saturday, and there were like we went in as a static one day earlier that week, and then we did Velvet Room raids, and I'm seeing mechanics that I never saw before. And then the next day, and then Sunday, we just actually clear it. Yeah, it's good with BIS. It's really
so
it's
if
really
you were
simple.
doing it in like 315 or 320, do you think it would be of a comparable difficulty to Thornton?
Comparable,
that was
yeah.
the big thing about Thornton as well was the scaling. No?
Yeah.
I got to agree with Mike. I think
you want to know something funny? Thornton's very last phase is also a complete disappointment because his very last phase is DPS dude in the middle of the room, dude's just AoE over and over again.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. That seems to be like a theme for those kinds of fights, is it the last phases?
There's a healing... I mean, it's literally like it's a Zentetsuken or a Neverwhere. It's like those kind of things. Like the very end of Neo Exdeath is just...
It's like, it's supposed to feel really intense, isn't it? Like it's
for the healers, sometimes it can, but...
And we gotta get it before he gets it.
Let me just say this. If you're a healer and you're refusing to DPS at the end of Shinryu, I've actually got no empathy for you anymore.
Asshole.
No, that's not my job, guys. Good luck killing the wings.
Alright, okay.
And what are your both of you what are your thoughts on the getting into the habit of these grandiose bosses that are fucking fat as hell and take up the entire arena?
Listen, just fix your tab targeting and I'll be fine. But if I target the heart and I press tab to get back to Shinryu and it doesn't go, I'm going to lose my mind.
I can't see the center of his model. Yeah. I have the same problem. Yeah, I mean, it's nice having these sort of really big scale fights, but you do kind of lose a lot in the peripherals.
Mm-hmm.
I think that a way to mitigate that maybe would be to let us kind of zoom the camera out a little bit further still. Yeah, that'd be nice. I know it's a feature that some people have been requesting for a while, and I understand why they haven't done it, but at the same time, if they're going to keep doing stuff like this, particularly for melee, like it's such a pain in the ass.
Dude, I don't even know what Shinryu looks like. I just looked in the back of the room the whole time because I was like, listen,
Yeah.
everyone else
Everyone
else is fucking up icicles. I'm not gonna. I'm just, hey, Shinryu, what's up?
Yeah.
Okay, there it is. Got it. Okay. All right. So we briefly covered Ethys's and our post week 1 thoughts of 4.1, but everyone's here for Spoilercast because, like I said, this was one of my favorites that we've ever had. Period. Like, it was incredible. So let's start from the top. So the story just starts as a fun-loving adventure. Starts that way. Hey, you want adventure, right? I'm lying. We actually have a purpose behind this. So
Yeah, Aaron Vold's not a very good liar.
no, not at all.
Can we talk a little bit about Arenvold actually? Because I noticed that when I was doing it, a lot of people were like, hey, who is this guy? I've never seen this guy before. What's going on here? Arenvold is someone that has been around since the beginning of A Realm Reborn. I'm not sure if he was in 1.0. I don't think he was, but he was one of the only survivors of the raid on the Waking Sands during 2.0. He has the Echo. He's half Garlean. He's been around for ages. We just haven't engaged with him very much, like in a sort of main scenario capacity.
Which is why I thought it was impressive that I feels like they made everyone love him very quickly, because a lot of people don't remember him, but a lot of people grew to immediately want more of him through this patch alone. I remember when I first saw him, I was like, Google.com Arenvold. Oh, okay, that's who it was. I didn't remember who he was. But that's how it starts. He wants you to go on an adventure to find a treasure of the Mad King, the last Mad King there was of Ala Mhigo. And then you find out all this backstory and history about what the previous king of Ala Mhigo was doing, and it gives you scope, if you didn't know who he was already, of what his evils were. And there's a lot more information I felt crammed into that than we really get in terms of setting up why what's about to happen is so important in a 0.1 patch. What about you, Sly?
I was slightly confused because I know a little bit about the Mad King, but not too much. And going into Scala, I thought there would be a lot more to offer when it was just the family of the king. That was it. I was slightly disappointed in Scala in that regard, in terms of the lore regard. Scala was still a fun dungeon, don't get me wrong, but I kind of wish there were more tidbits to be had. I mean, I think visually, if you are Ethys, you probably could see a few tidbits. I couldn't pick them up. And that's where I wanted to go into today, was the tidbits of info you could get while you were in Scala.
Well, because there's no context for the dungeon, so we've never seen anything of Scala before. It's a little bit more difficult than going into like an Amdapori dungeon and being able to like join dots to like other things that we know about Amdapor that people may have mentioned in dialogue, or we may have seen in other dungeons, or we may see sort of reminiscent of stuff that is around Gridania. Scala, we don't really have that because it's the first we've heard about it. Obviously, when we dive into Lochseld in 4.0, we're sort of wondering about, hey, what are these ruins down here? Is this, is this part of Ala Mhigo? Is this something else? I was wondering that. I know we were all sort of discussing that, and it was good to have closure on that. But other than that, all I really noticed was that it seems that Ala Mhigo has taken a lot of like architectural sort of tips and themes from Scala, and that either they or the monks of the Fist of Rauga have probably encountered Scala ruins before, and it's not like something that no one has known anything about. We just haven't heard anything about it. But yeah, it was. So I agree with you on a point that there wasn't like a whole bunch of lore down there, but what was down there was really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of got, again, the scope of the previous king, of why he was so hated by the people, of what happened to him towards the end of his term before the Garleans occupied Ala Mhigo, and what he was doing. Why don't they want another king? Why are people not okay with that? Because it's not like that was a century ago. That's a very recent thing, all of that.
Yes. Yeah, he only died 20 years ago. So you're right that is like a very, very important kind of context to set. And for those who haven't like dived into the history of Ala Mhigo, we hadn't really seen anything of him. Like in 4.0, he wasn't really mentioned very much. We would have no context for why they're so against a monarchy, like you say. So that is really important. We also seem to get a little bit of an implication, I think, of some Ascian involvement at his shoulder there.
Yeah.
Given that what he's done to his subjects down there is something very much like the Traitor's Spurn or like the Nemean Plague. It's a very kind of void sand sort of, you know, it's not something that he would have come up with by himself.
Absolutely not. And you know what? It's probably the Ascians driving him mad, and like they're probably the ones driving him to the point where he thinks everyone's against him. He pretty much solely relies on them to guide him to what he needs to do to be a strong king.
So you think there was some good in the Mad
If
King
there
before
was, the Ascians completely snuffed it out if there was.
Okay.
Like, he was probably always not a great guy, and they saw that, and their goal was to basically drive him to that point. They're probably responsible for the Autumn War, to be honest. I wouldn't even be surprised if they pushed old Ala Mhigo into that as well. There's reasons for that to have happened without them, just based on culture in Ala Mhigo.
Yeah.
But any major decision that leads to a clash in the realm, I always like to imagine it's attributed back to some sort of Ascian influence.
Yeah, they definitely kind of push things over the edge.
Like, if they disliked each other, that's one thing, but if they actually start a war, I'd like to believe that they were involved in some way.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah. So that's kind of just how it starts, is Arnvold wants to go down to Scala to get the treasures there to help alleviate the economic issue of Ala Mhigo, because another thing that people may have forgotten is Ala Mhigo was having massive issues with economics as soon as the ports of Limsa started taking away a lot of their trade routes.
Yeah,
pretty much.
Which was actually, like, ultimately the cause of the Autumn War, was basically they controlled these land routes through to the east. It was actually Uldar that started...
Uldar, my bad.
Yeah, Uldar commissioned Limsa to build a fleet so that they could trade with the east over the sea. So they stopped using the land routes, so the Ala Mhigans stopped being able to basically impose tariffs. And they fell into, you know, disrepair and poverty. So you're right that, like, even before the Garlean occupation, like, Ala Mhigo was not in a real good way economically.
And I think that this is what, like, even just this first little bit of Arnvold's adventure, I know all this stuff already, the background, whether it be through you, Ethys, or through the lore book that sits down there, or both, because you've read more of it than I have. That's a fact. How many times have you read through it?
I've got like 3 copies of it.
All right. But this was very world enriching for what a main scenario patch usually brings, was my main thing.
Yes.
And so we do this. We go into Scala. Alpha No helps. We talk to a bunch of people to learn of the people who actually knew. It's Theodric, right? Because I was doing the monk. I was looking at all the monk lore over the weekend, so Theodred kept popping up into my head, which something I still want to explore on.
Now, in that regard, who is Roderick Poison?
Yeah, that's an interesting one. Like, I don't think we have his story, but looking at his name, I immediately assumed that he was a kind of Wormtongue sort of character. But I don't know. I'd say
any relation
or something.
Any relation to Theodric?
Possibly.
Probably one of it. I'd have to guess he was probably his lead advisor before whatever drove him mad, and then he probably started. He probably started assuming that he was actually trying to, you know, push it. And it's possible that it was Poison Tongue who was working with the Ascians, or he was the one trying to use the Ascians to advise them, and then the Ascians went directly to the source.
Oh, hang on, here we go. So someone's actually said in chat that Roderick's info is on his card.
Good information.
I haven't seen his card yet, but apparently his card says he's 5th in line for the throne. So thank you very much for that, Platinum K.
See, this is the value of what is the card, meaning triple triad.
Yes.
Yeah.
I never read the lore on those things. So
I do when I actually get them.
I gotta read through all my cards. I don't know what a single triple triad card says in terms of history.
Yeah, I'm thinking we're gonna get some shit thrown in from on Air Zivia on triple triad cards now.
I got a text for you. I'll read it for you. Cousin to Theodric, the last king of Almego, is his cousin. The noble-born Roderick was fifth in line to the throne. Compelled by an unwavering sense of justice, he made frequent attempts to counsel and calm the volatile monarch, that such efforts were construed as an act of treason. Sentenced for his crime, Roderick suffered a terrible punishment, cursed to forever inhabit the form of a monstrous beast.
There you go.
So Poison Tongue was evidently a moniker that that Theodric gave him, I dare say.
Yeah, I don't think your family name is Poison Tongue, and you actually remain part of the family for very long.
Well, I mean, it could be a sort of bit of nominative determinism. You know, you get called Poison Tongue, and you turn out like that.
You spit hot fire.
Fire.
Yeah, there you go. He's a rapper. Little did you know. Alamegan rapper talking about hardships of trade routes. There you go. Don't shake your head, Sly. It could happen.
Sure.
We've seen worse. Listen, Koji wrote Rise. Just remember that. So don't be surprised if he wrote Roderick's raps. Yeah, just remember that. Okay. So we wrap up that little adventure, and other than the more specific details about Alamigo's past, that part goes along, and that feels very on par for what I'd expect from a 0.1 patch. But the thing is, I would have expected that from the entire 0.1 patch, to be honest, with like a tiny bit at the end. Whereas that was really just about...
That was just chapter 1.
That was kind of just chapter 1 of 4.1's overarching theme. Because then we move into the more important theme, and that is Alamigo has no government. The number one thing we pretty much knew before we even saw the trailer, this was going to be the first thing we kind of have to address. There's no leadership there. And we've also been reminded that Lys in no way knows how to do anything.
She's learning slowly.
She's learning on the job.
She's very self-conscious about her lack of experience, though, to the point where it's a bit of a detriment to her. And so that's where we move forward. Oh, so what do you got?
Well, I don't think it's that. I think it's that, and then she sees Raul Bond's leadership ability firsthand, and she kind of realizes that she pales in comparison to someone like Raul Bond. So I think she kind of got a little discouraged.
She's always kind of been this way with the Scions, though. She's always just kind of seen herself as like this I can't do anything kind of person. Didn't help that Papalemo said, "Are you dumb?" like every 2 seconds.
I don't know about that. I don't think it's so much that as she realizes that this isn't a job for like any one person.
And that's the problem. She only knows how to act as herself. She only knows how to be herself. She doesn't know how to run a government, pretty much. So now she's already setting that up. She learns of why we wanted the treasure. She's ecstatic about that. But we immediately go into people finding out Fordola's alive. And they're not happy. The word bitch has never been said so much in Final Fantasy XIV.
Yeah, they dropped that so many times.
So easily.
That bitch! Kill the bitch! Bleed the bitch! Over and over. I'm just like, all right. I like, you guys are passionate about this, I see.
So she's really a bitch. Okay.
Yeah. And they only heard rumors, and then Lys said, oh, they found out? And they're like, so she is alive. Fuck. Lys. You literally just pulled a Ryuji here for Persona fans. There you go. So then Raul Bond steps in and says, guys, stop. And basically gives them a little motivational speech. So how do we...
He basically says that he wants to kill her too, but that they still need her. And that she should be facing trial, and... We
need to prove we're better than the Garleans. Whatnot. We're not savages. We don't want them to be right above all else.
Fordola's echo flashback says otherwise.
Yeah, well, at that point, you know, your people are kind of low, already defeated.
So what did we think of her flashback in terms of like building a little bit of sympathy for Fordola?
I mean,
it garnered a little bit from my end. I kind of understand. I kind of understand where she's coming from. I kind of understand the reasons she took the action she did. Yet and still kind of on the extreme side of what she did.
Mm-hmm.
But it gives me a little bit of time.
Now, to put in context for people, basically, Fodola's parents were nobles that collaborated with the Garleans. And it's going to be a little bit more complicated than that in terms of context, is that if they're nobles that survived Theodric, it means that they're also nobles that collaborated with him and probably with the Corpse Brigade. So they wouldn't have been particularly popular even before the Garlean occupation. And yeah, we get this idea that Fodola's idea of, you know, this is the only way that Ala Mhigo can survive is by proving itself as, you know, useful, upstanding citizens of the Empire. That's what he was all about. But what I really took away from this is that Fodola never really believed what she was spouting at us. She's saying, we need to prove that the Ala Mhigans aren't animals. And yet you can see that behind all of this, she clearly believes that they are animals and that she is an animal, and her influence, her motivation is sort of almost purely nihilistic, and she's basically just trying to prove herself wrong, which is very interesting and makes her. I mean, I've been saying since 4.0, like, she's probably the most interesting character in the game at the moment, and this really kind of solidified it for me. And
she has a heart, we eventually learn, as much as she sees herself as an animal. A lot of it is also a lack of acceptance. She was never accepted. She doesn't accept herself. Nothing. She's never experienced it before, or after her father was killed. Because one thing we left out about her parents being nobles, her mother survived, but her father was literally had a full stone thrown directly into his face, the side of his temple, and he was killed defending Fordola from other Ala Mhigans while Imperials watched and did nothing. And that pretty much shaped her character for the rest of her life, because her mother pleaded her not to join the military, and she had to. She's like, there's no way, I can't do this. Like, I have to. This is the only way. That's what father believed. You have to work with them to survive. And that was his dying words. One day they'll understand.
Well, I don't think it was so much that her mother was desperate that she wouldn't join the military, so much as she was desperate that she wasn't going to make this faction that was specifically formed to keep other Ala Mhigans under the thumb.
Yeah.
Yeah. The whole purpose of the skulls was that they were Ala Mhigan citizens policing Ala Mhigan citizens,
as opposed to Garleans policing Ala Mhigan citizens. Yeah, that didn't work. It didn't work out. By the time we reoccupied, it didn't work out all too well. Yeah. But we start getting a better scope of her character and what her Echo is actually capable of as well. She actually, in an instant, pretty much sees all of the Warrior of Light's accomplishments and can't comprehend them immediately.
Well, what she sees is she's a very, like, self-pitying character to this point. And she thinks that what she has been through is absolutely terrible and it would ruin anyone, and that she's basically justified in this monster that she's become. And then she sees us, and she sees all the suffering that we've been through and the fact that we're still, like, standing up straight. She's like, how is that possible?
How do you deal with it?
Yeah,
she saw Hoshfont's grave too, and she's like, I don't know how you did that. I don't know how.
So basically, she's got an exact replication of Kryle's Echo, and Kryle is sort of renowned for having basically the most intense iteration of being able to sort of connect with people.
She pretty much, if she's in the vicinity of anyone, she will experience.
She's constantly getting these flashbacks.
Yeah.
And Alfino made the really interesting point that just a single flashback with Yzael completely changed the nature of her character. Like, she did a complete 180 after that encounter. And Fordola has been getting these just constantly the whole time she's been locked up. So I think it's quite compelling in terms of you know, having her character evolve quite dramatically over quite a short time. Now, I was saying beforehand that it was going to go one of two ways, basically, depending on who got to her first. That either we were going to get to her first and she was going to be like, oh, wow.
Redemption arc.
Oh, this is incredible. Look at this warrior of light. He's been through all this suffering and is still, you know, a champion. Or else Elidibus was going to get to her first, and, you know, we knew how that was going to turn out.
I'm not ruling out that. I don't think just because just because she's done. I still think that that's still well on the table of something that is possible.
Yeah, definitely. And I think for that to happen now would sort of give it perhaps more impact, given that she's kind of making some steps towards this redemption arc. But we got to her first, and that's great. And if that's the way that it goes, then that's quite compelling, and I'm happy with that. I reckon she's a fascinating character.
How you enjoying this so far, Sly? Is Fordola your new bae, or are you sticking? No.
God no. Even though
you don't like a tough woman.
Really, are we gonna go? Are we gonna go that route? even though Yatsuyu is alive and she's kind of a shadow of her former self.
Oh, I can't wait to talk about that.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later. Yatsuyu's still bae. She's still bae,
okay,
even though she's not.
She's trying to be more waifu than bae right now, though, which we'll talk about in a little bit.
Yeah.
That's what she's trying to be, at the very least.
It's Stockholm syndrome. It's Stockholm syndrome.
The semantics of it. So Fordola is pretty much against. She wants death. That's all she wants. She thinks that's her only redemption, or that's all that's left for her. There's no other point. She can't be changed. She made up her mind. All that stuff, and we won't let her have it. But while that's going on, we're also dealing with Nanamo's struggles. So we got a lot of strings being pulled, and they're all pulling in the.
And this was so good as well.
This was actually fantastic. I call it Nanamo's Grand Adventure.
That's why I hated it.
Really? That's why I liked it.
When we do like little tours like this, like we did for I guess Astinian back in Heaven's Ward, when we took the victory lap. This basically felt like a mini victory lap, and it was just a recollection of
Raubon's past.
Basic.
Yeah.
And it gave some good insight, but I just never liked things like this. I never like little mini tours
where we just go talk to NPCs and they just tell us a bunch of things and then that's it. As opposed to like something. Well, I felt it was almost a necessary sacrifice to get to the point where something did happen. Because as much as all of these strings feel... What I loved about this patch is... It sounds like we're talking about 3 completely different events so far, but they're all central to one conclusion at the end of this patch. And this is the first time I feel like a patch had a conclusion. That wasn't an end of an expansion pack.
I agree with you on that one.
So... That's why I liked Nanamo's adventure. She wanted to try and figure out what she could do to get Raubon to be honest to her, that he wants to go to Alamigo, even though he has sworn this debt to Nanamo after she made him a member of the... Once he became one of the 6th richest and became a member of the Syndicate. And he swore his sword to her.
I kind of feel like the end-all solution in terms of in terms of the means she had to go through to kind of balance the government in Ul'dah and balance everything with the refugees. I kind of feel like it was forced a little bit, even though she knew and I kind of feel like she already knew what she had to do, but she was just trying to look for other reasons to not do it. Like she knew she would inevitably had to go talk to Lola Rita, and I'm
not sure she did.
I think she did. I think she
did.
She knew it was like one of her best options, but she also knew it was probably her absolute worst option.
I think
she was just avoiding it.
I think this little chapter was really good because if we didn't start in Ul'dah, I don't think we've ever encountered Lilira otherwise in the main scenario quest, which is her alter ego, her sort of Princess Jasmine thing that she likes to do.
Yeah.
and we would not really have been exposed to very much of her character and her character progression. So I think that even though it can be a little bit tedious, sort of, oh, now come here and meet me here so I can reminisce over here about this thing, it was something that was important to kind of bring people up to speed on her character that might not have been otherwise.
Her character was one-dimensional until that series of events, pretty much.
Well, it wasn't one-dimensional, but it was definitely like there was only one dimension sort of put forward in the main scenario quest. Like if you hadn't gone digging, she would have seemed very one-dimensional.
Right.
We did actually learn a couple of things from that. One is that she saved Raubon's life. The Syndicate had arranged for him to die by facing incredibly unreasonable odds in a match that she basically rescinded and subsequently saved his life.
And didn't we learn this in the I'm sorry, didn't we learn this in the journal entry? Not the journal entry, but the Tales from the Storm?
No, I don't think so.
I know now that you mentioned, I don't remember.
Pardoned him?
Yeah. But not about the match that was set up to kill him.
Not about this specific instance. We also learned quite unambiguously that her parents were murdered by the Syndicate, that they basically arranged to have them knocked off while she was very, very young so that they would have this sort of easily controllable puppet. And that kind of creates the context for the fact that she's been struggling with this her whole life, which is interesting, and that Raubon was her one way out of it, basically, and a one way of sort of gaining some sort of independence, and that she knows that and he knows that, and she needs to find a way to show him that she's not like a child anymore and she can stand on her own 2 feet. So I thought this was really great. I know a lot of people absolutely love Nanamo's character as well, and they would have been really, really stoked by this.
I totally get you not being down for follow me here. It was tedious to do, but the cutscenes in between were worth it for me. It's kind of like, for me, Ramuh 2.3 is, for me, the most tedious of all the main scenario patches, but Ramuh's character, at least, was one of my favorites throughout the 2.x series. So I was like, all right, at least I'll remember that. And this wasn't nearly as tedious as Ramuh's quest with the fake scions and all that shit.
No, we learned some interesting things on every step. What did we think of Godbert's appearance?
I thank God they finally acknowledged that he's a member. Like, he's a member of the Syndicate from Hildebrand's quests, but they've never once had him in anything main scenario related. Every time they get the Syndicate together, his seat's always empty.
He never bothers to show up.
Yeah.
So does this make Godbert canon now? Finally?
Yeah, Godbert's been canon. He is one of the 6 members. There's always, if there's ever been Syndicate members together, there's only ever been 5 of them. And we know that yeah. No, and it's just that we now that the Syndicate's the 6 richest people. As soon as you go past one of those 6 people, you are now one of the 6th richest, and you have say in the government in Ul'dah, pretty much. Just no one can really pass them. And he's just always been listen, if a hand is 5 fingers, he's the other hand, pretty much. So
it's just that, and we've never gotten a lot of interaction with Godbert outside of Hildebrand itself. And he's never
some oil on him at like level 34 or whatever it was.
He's always felt like this comical afterthought, and now we see him in more of in his Syndicate proper role. We see him in more of a serious role. Yeah,
it was strange. It was really strange.
Yeah,
it was weird to hear him literally say, "Nanamo, you're just wrong about everything." Like every other Syndicate member would normally say. She didn't think he was like every other Syndicate member. And then all he did was say, you're wrong. You need to think about prosperity. That's why no one respects you. So you can do something, but it needs to benefit Ul'dah as well.
He's a money grubbing bastard. He's the good kind of money grubbing bastard too. Yeah, he sees what Nanamo's trying to do, but at the same time, there has to be profit. He's always businesslike. He doesn't have the gold saucer for no reason. He's always going to think about profit.
That's why he's some of what. It's weird that he's one of the richest people, and the Gold Saucer has no gil exchange whatsoever. We have to assume that the NPCs can use gil to get MGP.
I think the gil exchange is implied. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that, and for NPC's sake, the gil, and also for drinks and food and other entertainment, whatever you do there. I'm assuming they also have people watch the Chocobo races and everything and all that. So, oh, by the way, they left him unvoiced. Thank God. They were like, this has to be an unvoiced cutscene. We cannot start voicing him in one place and not voicing him in another.
No, that would be interesting.
And at the end of it all comes Nanamo's ultimate confrontation with Lolorito of all people.
I loved that she was wearing the mask coming into that.
Yeah, he's like, all right, I get it. I never... All right, this is what I look like, guys. I get it.
That was really good. Yeah.
His eyes are frightening. He's got those eyes that are like gradient, where it's creepy as fuck. So he looks like a douchebag without the mask too. By the way,
she's finally realized that you can't go over his head. That if you want to get something done, it has to go by Lolorito, and you need to find a way to be able to. Find some common ground with him.
So after this interaction with Lolorito, well, before the interaction with Lolorito, what were your thoughts in terms of Lolorito? Because I couldn't pin what exactly Lolorito is, but I kind of see a little.
So
I want to say neutral. Maybe.
If it wasn't for Lolorito's negotiations with Garlemald, we probably would have been at war with them a long time ago.
Yeah, we went. That's right. We did go to. We also went to Kugane just to say, "Hey, Hancock, we want you." And he's like, "You really don't. You probably just want the guy who's my boss."
Lolorito wants sort of stability and security for the realm for his own. Business advantage, but subsequently he's great. He's saved our ass a lot of times. He just hasn't done it out of pure
he doesn't care about us.
Good, yeah.
Yeah.
It's been more of his own self-interest.
Personal benefit.
Yeah.
Can he make money?
Why does he seem such like a dick though?
Because he is a dick.
Like there's good in his self-interest, and it coincides with our interest. But why does he always seem like a dick?
Because he is a dick. Because he doesn't care about us. We're just. He goes, wow, that situation really sucks with him. But if I do something, I can make money out of it.
Now, someone in the chat says lawful evil. I was gonna go.
No, he's not. Absolutely not.
I was gonna go a bit. Chaotic neutral?
No, I don't think
he's a Lalafell,
and I don't think he's evil either. He's on the side of stability, and the thing is that ultimately Final Fantasy XIV, when it you pull back to the macro perspective, it's order versus chaos. It's the Ascians versus everything that's not the Ascians. And Lolorito just happens to be the complete opposite of an Ascian. So whatever you think about him, he's good for, the world not falling apart.
I would kill to see an interaction between him and the Ascian.
As would I, now that I think about it. That would be amazing. Yeah.
Because all of a sudden he starts to sound like a fucking hero when he's talking to the Ascian.
Yeah. Like what benefit could he get from an Ascian, and what could they get from him?
He could develop trade routes to the other shards. I don't know.
I think if he ever met an Ascian, he's smart enough to know what their end game is, and that what they're offering him in the short term, as they do. They offer people something in the short term, and in the long term you get a cataclysmic fucking war or something.
I think he can see far enough into the future to not.
You can see the big picture, and that's the difference.
Lolorito's long game.
Every other character,
including the late Telegia Adeleji, who just wanted what he wanted right then and there, and Lorito's like, that's gonna fuck up everything.
And including the leaders of every other one of the city-states, honestly.
I love the conversation where if you don't eventually say the Sultry, you're like, the Sultry, and I think you want me to say the Sultry.
Yeah.
The Reddit post for that was great, where it's like, Square Enix knows exactly how to provide choice for our characters.
Did they know what they were doing when they moved us towards making a salt mine and Lolorito literally being a salt miner?
Yeah. You don't want to know something really... This patch was full of a lot of great irony, because for those who may not know, for the first 2, maybe 3 days, Raul wouldn't appear in cities so people couldn't progress their main scenario quests because of him again. On top of that, a lot of the story has to do with the Sultry and Lolorito, and it all really comes together in a sort of a beautiful irony.
Yeah, it was really good. Yeah, so we're salt miners.
Yeah, so Lolorito and Nanamo eventually work out that Ul'dah could help the Alamegan refugees set up a salt mine so that they could actually have some sort of economic growth, or they would have a trade that was exclusive to them, and they were basically sitting on one of the most, on Earth, and you don't even have to think about how worth it is in Eorzea. Salt is one of the most versatile minerals on Earth, and you can only imagine that applies even in a fantasy world, and they're sitting on literally a fortune. And all that Nanamo had to realize was that Ul'dah just has to get a part of the profits, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And Lolorito's like, fuck yeah, I'm down with that. That's free money right there.
And so he and Alphino are hammering out a contract right now.
I gotta ask you, though, is there a reason why Alamigo never thought to... I mean, obviously the Sultry exists, and that was one... That was...
Yeah, they did.
They had it, but it clearly wasn't enough for them before with when the trade routes went down.
I think it was more that when the trade routes went down, they just weren't on like particularly good terms with the other city-states, that there wasn't much trade happening between them.
Yeah, well, all the same, that's gonna be their thing. That's gonna be the thing that they're known for above anything else, is salt. I really hope this doesn't become like that. The Sultry and Salt and Light being A3 Savage Living Liquid, and
it's an ongoing meme.
How much longer do we have to put up with salt being rubbed in our wounds, in the most literal of terms?
I think it's great. I think it's awesome. I love it.
So we're gonna rebuild the Sultry. Do you think that they actually rebuild the Sultry in the locks at any point, given like we haven't had a Mordona or Idleshire style
over
growth?
time?
We have, apparently the Diamond Enclave has grown a little bit.
Tiny bit.
Yeah, just a little tiny bit. But we didn't see anything like in the Alamegan Quarter. We didn't really see anything in Ralga's Reach. So I don't know. I hope a little bit.
A part of me really wishes the Alamegan Quarter was where our currencies were. Like,
yeah, me too.
Like, I wish that was our Mordona, not Ralga's Reach. It's kind of weird, but Ralga's Reach is, I get it. It's lower teleport cost too.
Yeah, it is weird though. Like, Ralga's Reach is so far away from the city and the border, and it's not in a good position. Anyway,
it is what it is.
We can just put it down to Lise being stupid again.
Yeah, I guess that seems fair, right? So now we've tackled all the following problems. Nanamo has learned of a little bit of how she's going to get Raul to commit to Alamigo. She's helped figure out one of Ul'dah's biggest problems since Alamegan occupation, which was the refugees and what to do with them instead of just charity. She's figured out how to grow as her own character. We found a shit ton of money in terms of valuables under Alamigo to give to Alamigo for economic growth. And now what we have left is figuring out how Alamigo will actually be governed. And Lise thinks it would be a great idea to get all of the factions involved, including the Kikerns and the Ananta.
which on paper is a great idea, holding a big summit and all that. So the thing that really frustrated me here, like, I think it was good sort of story point. That fight with Lakshmi was great. That betrayal was great, even though, you know, we could see it coming from a mile away. But Y'shtola made the point afterwards that it is so easy to identify people that have been tempered by using their therometers, which incidentally is something that Y'shtola can do with the naked eye now. Why did they not set up some security system where they checked people coming in? Why was there no metal detector effectively? It's so stupid.
Because the guards in charge of the security were already in on it.
Yeah, but they didn't have any therometers or anything like that on hand.
No government, no coordination. Like they're not smart enough yet. They haven't come together. And Lise is too trusting. We know that. We know Lise trusts people way too much. Like she was practically willing to trust like members of the Griffins like organization originally. She's like, oh, we know we gotta make sure we help them. And Papalimo's like, yo, you need to like remember why we're here. You can't just be like, yeah, he's trying to do a good thing. Yeah,
they had two sides outside. I don't know. I think it was pretty bad that they managed to slip through. But
how early did you think the tempering happened for the guards outside?
Had to be a while ago.
Yeah, it would have been a while ago.
Okay. Because I was going to think there was like earlier involvement from the Ananta from like well before any of this even happened. Like it's still to be determined.
Yeah, I mean they would have had basically it would have had to have been Alamegan resistance fighters that had contact with the Ananta beforehand. And that had subsequently become guards and subsequently been rostered on for this, and there were just so many. Anyway, I don't think it's worth something. I don't think it's worth like delving into too deeply because there's so many holes in it. We just have to accept that that's how it happened.
Yeah. And let's be honest. Ultimately, that happening is only important for a single reason: that meeting coming together and Lakshmi being summoned by
Fordola's character.
For Fordola, ultimately. Yeah. Lise goes and says, I gave you a choice. You can fight with us, you could be with us or against us, pretty much. And Fordola, in that moment, said, well, I can do something good for Alamigo for once, pretty much. And took up a sword and used the Echo to help defeat Lakshmi and save people from being tempered. Because
this was very personal as well, because Fordola was responsible for the original summoning of Lakshmi.
Yeah. She killed the daughter, right?
Yeah. So she fucked up, and it's the only thing that she's sort of really readily conceded so far that she fucked up.
I'm only go so far though because they can just keep doing it over and over again.
That's true. But basically, it's a first step in her kind of taking responsibility for her mistakes and her actions. It's the first step towards the sort of sympathy that is being forced on her by the Echo, something that she's kind of like actually integrating into her character.
Do you really see it as sympathy though? Because she knows
that's literally what the Echo does. The Echo forces you to sympathize with people. It forces you to experience people's past experiences. That's literally what sympathy is. It's being able to connect with other people and what they experience. It's the most pure form of sympathy. That's what the Echo
is. as someone who would connect. I mean, she has an understanding of what she does. She knows one, she's not going to be forgiven, and they even say it. I won't forgive you. I thank you, but I will never forgive you. She knows the reaction that she's going to get when she involves herself.
She understands that like intellectually, but again, she's forced to like literally experience what the people are experiencing and feel what they feel. And I think that again, it's something that is slowly starting to like seep into her personality rather than something that she sort of concedes.
I'm liking where she's going. Her redemption arc could have been completely boring, and it's yet to be the first real introduction of it.
Yeah, they could have absolutely boxed it up. But so far it looks really good.
And that's ultimately how she just immediately goes back to her cell. She doesn't take that as like leverage to, I helped you, so whatever. She doesn't want or need any of that. She's like, all right, now take me back to my cell before my trial. Pretty much. I did my duty, and that's it. She even sheds a tear when she gets thanked. Because she's never had that exact emotion. That exact emotion's new to her. And she also has literally in that moment seen that guy's past and know what he overcame to thank her in that moment. So that's something you're always going to have to be conscious of with Fordola, is any interaction she has with a person, she is so sensitive and has lack of control over her gift that's been forced on her at this point. She is going to feel something different than you might feel seeing that scene.
Yeah, she can't turn it off.
Yeah. And I think that's going to be an incredible element to her character going forward. So with that, we have one final thing. Raul this whole time has been musing over his decision, saying he knows he's going back to Ul'dah, but he's going to miss his homeland. He just keeps saying, I know I'll miss it, and I know there's a part of me but I made a promise. And Nanamo is just like, you idiot, you're out. The syndicate, you're fired. That's it.
So what I want to know is, if he gets kicked off the syndicate, right? What happens? Do they take all his money?
They would have no. So what I imagine is he's being removed. Like if the syndicate, I'm assuming with 6 members, makes a decision to remove someone, and let's be honest, the syndicate would remove Raul in a fucking heartbeat.
Oh yeah,
opportunity. Yeah. She probably didn't even ask them. She probably just said, "Yeah, I'm gonna go get rid of him," and they're like, "Fuck yeah, about time." All right. So they need to fill the 6th seat. Is the first thing. They're probably whoever's the 6th richest person now is probably going to take that up. And we know Pippin is taking over the Immortal Flames, but unless Raul wants to give Pippin all his money and make Pippin a member of the syndicate.
I wouldn't be surprised if that's what happens.
That's kind of where I was thinking it was going to go.
I mean, it makes sense.
I'm apprehensive about the idea of Raul leaving the syndicate and leaving Ul'dah. Basically until they made it clear that like Pippin was replacing him. I was like, all right, sweet, we get to see more Pippin. Pippin's a great character. I'm into that. And Pippin is an Ul'dah, unlike Raul. He was born and bred. So I think that's going to be interesting.
Yeah, because he's taking his place as the Immortal Flames, but that doesn't automatically the syndicate's not just going to put you on the syndicate because the old syndicate person said, okay, that guy's taking my place. Unless he gives him all his money. If he gives him all his money, then he's automatically.
I think
that's what I'm saying.
So that's
the thing is, like, that would literally be taking out 1/6 of Ul'dah's capital.
Yeah.
Just like, that's an Almiga now. It's like that I don't that'd be
Chat's like, and this is setting up the romance arc between Pippin and
One thing we did miss while we were talking about all this was the fact that Laurentius and you
I was gonna come back to that after we were done with that.
And what's interesting here is that everyone's like, well, Raul is like, all right, oh no, we gotta spare $4. We've got to do that properly. But when it comes to Laurentius and Newhouse, they were like, no, fucking execute him, get him, make him bleed.
Yeah, he's like, because I did the give them a fair trial option. He's like, really?
He's like, what? Yeah, he wants to execute him, and I'm like, dude, at least be consistent. Are you kidding me?
Oh yeah, it's still a good point. They're actually. I just remembered. Yeah, after they lost to Leggy, they never replaced him on the syndicate either.
No. And Rowena.
Rowena's not a citizen.
Rowena.
Well, she has capital.
But we've had like a lot of implications that Rowena might be stepping up. What I've been saying is that maybe she's not because Nanamo wants to reform the government and the syndicate might not exist. In another couple of patches. They might have some sort of Republican system where, the current syndicate members are just like given, seats in a Senate or whatever.
Listen,
do we really think that Nanamo has the power to kind of liquidate the syndicate?
So long as Lolorito gets a sort of equivalent position of power to what he currently has, then yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay.
And let's be honest, no one gives a fuck about the other members. Godbert, why would you get rid of him? And fuck the other ones. No one cares. That's it. Everyone just Lolorito's like, I don't you can put them on the streets. I don't care. I make money. I got money. I got bitches. Right.
I think she will find a way. I think she will find a way to sort of democratize it.
Yeah. And yeah, Raubon won't accept it, and we get to see crying face Nanamo again. And everyone's like, don't cry.
Not again.
Stop it, because they have your eyes designed in such a way where they're glossy, and if the yours are glossy, mine are gonna get glossy. I don't want to do it. You'll feel like Ethys when Keen Flurry was removed.
I don't know what you're talking about. I still got Keen Flurry on the hot.
Yeah.
Still there.
So, and yeah, that's pretty much where it all comes together. Raubon is now going to be, whatever happens, obviously we still don't have a solid all the way plan with Alamigo. All we know is that meeting went to shit, and we don't know 90% of what they talked about because they cut right to when they were summoning Sri Lakshmi. And Raubon wants to be involved in it no matter what. And honestly, if Alamigo was looking for a military leader, I would probably want Raubon.
That was insane. The fact that Raubon was like, I'm fighting this primal. It's like, what? No, go away, get out of here.
Yeah, that's one of the first times we've ever been exposed to the members that were scions and like military that aren't, Echo gifted. You have to remember that Lise isn't gifted with the Echo.
Yeah. None of the scions have fought a primal directly before.
Yeah, the only one that had the Echo of the scions was Minfilia, and then there were members that had the Echo within the Waking Sands, but they weren't necessarily scions.
Who also never fought a primal.
Alfino and Alizé would tighten the second time with Gabu.
With what?
With Gabu. Remember in the... I forget.
Well, they also fought Bahamut, so...
Yeah, actually, I was about to say... they fought Bahamut.
Yeah.
To be fair, he wasn't exactly down for the whole tempering process. He was more like, I'm just going to obliterate your process.
Everything, yeah.
Yeah. So, but it all came together in what all of these pieces led to Raubon. Ultimately, the goal of Raubon staying with Alamigo. Everything that happened this patch was a goal to get us to that point, pretty much. And it concluded, which I don't know how to feel about because I've never had that feeling at the end of a story patch before. I've never felt like, wow, that was great. It's done, and I'm excited for the next part, and I'm happy with this conclusion.
Well, yeah, it just means that we can do the next thing now.
Now that just means don't fuck it up at 4.2. That's as far as I'm concerned. Don't do this with 4.1 and then 4.2 does.
I think 4.2 is going to introduce like what the next story arc is going to be, and that's going to be a couple of patches.
So where do you think we go from here?
Doma.
That's where I was.
We're gonna have to go and help sort things out in Doma. Although it seems that in terms of government leadership and everything, like Hian's got that sorted out. I want 4.2 to be Empire Strikes Back.
Oh, another thing that's important to point out, to Ethys's credit here, there is a dialogue mention of Dalmasca fighting back against the Empire early on.
Yeah.
It says
this
that
is important because we'll be coming to this shortly.
Yes.
I want 4.2 to be Empire Strikes Back. I want 4.2 to be, hey, there's more Echo super soldiers, and they're coming for us.
Yeah. So then we get the two hey, let's do this Marvel style setup for the next patch. The first one is Gosetsu and Yatsuyu, who we can't forget about. They were left on an island with Yatsuyu out cold and Gosetsu trying to survive and find a way off. They made a raft, they got to Kugane, and they're currently disguised as just I don't know how Gosetsu disguises himself, but
fucker's fat as hell.
I don't know how Yatsuyu.
There are a lot of Regadons in.
Yeah, but he's face model.
Very distinctive.
I mean, those hats just tilt them down, and that's it. But what we've learned is Yatsuyu likely has amnesia and has no fucking idea who she is.
It's not. It's either amnesia or Stockholm syndrome for him.
One of the two.
Him saving her.
I think it's amnesia. They seem to be implying it's amnesia, and I don't like it. It's literally the only way, the only conceivable way you could make people pity her at this point. She was such a monster. She was such a horrible, vitriolic bitch in 4.0 that this is literally the only way that they could make people feel anything for her. And I think it's kind of cheap. And I think that having a redemption arc for $4 is one thing, but having a redemption arc for $4 and Yatsuyu, it's kind of sucks.
I don't think Yatsuyu is getting a redemption arc. I think that she's okay. So the only reason why there's a question of whether or not it's amnesia is the very last thing that happens before you see her in Doma Castle is she cries. That's it. There's that moment where you think that maybe she's realized she's a monster and she regrets everything she's ever done because there was hope, basically. But at the same time, the way she looks like she seems like a different person. She doesn't just seem like
a complete blank canvas. Like she's
hey, she literally went full Nashu. We have no money left, so I bought this.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Now, a couple of people made the point of, hey, Yatsuyu knows he's mates with the Sekisei Gumi. He's sort of worrying about how he's going to get back to Doma. Why doesn't he just go and walk up to the Sekisei Gumi barracks and be like, "Hi, friends, can you help me out, please?" And I think it's because he doesn't want them to execute Yatsuyu.
Yeah.
I'm not sure whether it's because he has become attached to her and that she's got amnesia or something, and that subsequently he's like, you know, feeling differently about her, or whether he wants to bring her in alive so they could get like some information out of her and so she can face a proper trial and all that. But either way, he's very intent on keeping who she is a secret at the moment.
Because if she doesn't remember who she is and somebody recognizes her and goes ham, it's not gonna be.
It's gonna fuck with her. It's gonna really.
I think what ends up happening, she gets her memory back. She turns back into a sadistic bitch. Is what I think happens.
Yeah, I mean, what I want for Yatsuyu is that we bring her in and she feeds us intel that helps us fight Garlemald in subsequent patches. No redemption arc. She's still an evil bitch. We keep her in prison.
Say that
and
every
time we see her, she, you know, does her evil bitch thing. I just don't want like the two major antagonists for Stormblood to be completely turned over.
I don't think Yatsu's going down that path. And one important thing about your comment about the Sekisei Gumi, they're on their way to Doma because they have no jurisdiction in Kurenai. Kurenai doesn't give a fuck about Yatsuyu. Doma cares about Yatsuyu.
I think that the Sekisei Gumi would probably either want to hand her back over to the Garlands or execute her.
Isn't the Sekisei Gumi like fucking done now anyway? Because the Samurai questline done fucked everything up with the Sekisei Gumi.
No. The Sekisei Gumi took like a major hit, but they're fine. They're alright. They're Gucci.
Last time we spoke about this, you said they were far from fine.
I mean, for the moment, the immediate crisis that you see in the Samurai questline is done with. Like, for the moment, they're okay. It's a precarious situation in Kurenai at the moment.
A little bit.
The only way I see it being an issue with the Sekisei Gumi is if the Sekisei Gumi has any interaction with the Confederacy, and I don't think they've had a lot of interaction.
Confederacy still needs to reset up the fact that they actually own that ocean to some degree, because they've only existed there under Garlean watch for however many years now. So
well, the Confederacy are trading with Lolorito.
yeah, no, and Lolorito is trading with everyone. If
Yeah.
you've got money and something worth
yeah.
something to him, Lolorito's trading with them.
Yeah.
He literally has, he as one individual has a wider reach than any other empire or individual in all of the realm.
Pretty much.
Garlemald, Doma, the Confederacy. I wouldn't be surprised if we find out he's been trading with Dalmasca and the other areas everywhere. Just he's fucking crazy. Thavnair.
Yeah,
we know he's working with Thavnair like everywhere. It's just everywhere.
Yeah, he's everywhere. He's everywhere.
Yeah. All right, so we get that. The next thing we're going to be doing is dealing with Hien and Yatsuyu. Well, now that Gosetsu's trying to get her to Doma, that's his next goal. But then we get a very odd cutscene that I didn't really know how to take, and it's a cutscene of back at the royal capital in Garlemald, where two, I guess not lower ranking, but they're lower. They're not legatuses or anything. So I'll call them lower ranked officers talking about a rumor that Xenos survived and that Alamigo didn't actually kill. We watched him slit his fucking throat, so we know that unless he's got some insane Echo primal Shinryu gift at this point, he's fucking dead.
What I think is this is a case of Imperial
news.
propaganda where there's absolutely no way that they're gonna let anyone in any of the other regions know that they've lost 2 provinces. There's just no way they're going to concede that.
Yeah.
Anything anyone hears about them, it's just rumor, it's just hearsay. It never happened. The alternative possibility is that they've got like Xenos clones or some bullshit like that, or they've reanimated him. It seems that someone took his body.
Yeah, people are now trying to piece together that the scene in 4.0 where we don't see a face, but we know Elidibus takes off his mask, and that Varys is not in any way pleased with what Elidibus has shown him, meaning he very clearly recognizes whoever is under that mask and is upset with them being used basically as a puppet. You think this guy is Xenos' body is now another option as well, although he seemed very, how do I say, short to be Xenos. And it'd be really weird to be an Ascian who has the Echo, who then now is taken over the body of an Echo, an artificially gifted Echo individual. And
Well, I mean, the Ascians need bodies. And
but Elidibus, does he need a body?
well, from everything we know about Ascians, yes, he needs a body.
Does he need a new one?
Well, that's the thing. The problem is that if he's using Xenos' body, then we just have to ask, like, well, whose body was he using before?
We didn't see him till 2.1.
Yeah, we didn't see him until, hey, wow, immediately after Gaius disappeared.
Never found the body.
So the path of least resistance, I think, is still Gaius. The official Ethys mandate is that in every scene of every patch where you see some mystery character who's being unveiled and you don't know who it is, it's Gaius until proven otherwise.
The Griffin was Gaius. Doesn't matter.
Until proven otherwise. Yeah. It's like, it's Schrodinger's Gaius, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it.
God damn it.
I'm glad you
It is
like that
both
one.
Gaius and not Gaius in a state of quantum flux until you pull the mask off.
There you go. But
Now,
okay,
Ethys, going back to what you...
No. I wanted you to take this because I think I know where you're going.
Yeah, going back to what you said about the propaganda, what would be the point of Garlean spreading propaganda like that when Varys already knows what happened? What benefit?
The point of spreading propaganda like that is so the way the Garlean Empire works is that less than 10% of the population of the Empire are actually Garleans and are actually like full citizens. The vast majority are these subjugated people. And if they learn that some rabble managed to liberate 2 Garlean provinces, they're going to have riots everywhere. And they're already having that problem given that Hien sent out all of these, spies around the place to kind of incite rebellions and kind of light spot fires throughout the Empire. But it's simply that it's to keep things together. It's to prevent another civil war.
We're pushing them to eventually grab some WMDs as if they haven't once or twice already, and like really fucking use them. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but we're gonna really push them to like absolute like desperation by some point, and it's gonna go really, really bad.
Mm-hmm.
Most likely. I guess the ultimate question is who the fuck was clenching their hand in that, because that's not Elidibus as Gaius getting upset that they're spreading propaganda. So it's not Gaius, all right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, if we refer back to the official Ethys Schrodinger's Gaius mandate, it is Gaius. It could be, I can't remember his name, but it seems like the glove is similar to what the Gharlean scientists wear. I don't know if it's the same.
Yeah, it reminds me of Sid's Ironworks glove, but a different color.
Pardon? Sly?
You were saying Alsus?
Yeah, that's his name. It could be him.
Alsus was Alsus was the second boss of
Alamigo.
Yeah,
it could be him. It could be someone we haven't seen before.
Excuse me.
You know, it could be Gaius until proven otherwise.
Well, what we'll talk about in a second when we talk about Ivalice is we learned that Sid was friends with a great many scientists or scientific minds, even if. And we learned that there are actually a lot of Gharleans who are the scientific minds who don't agree with the way that the government is run.
Yeah, well, that's why they had a civil war.
Yeah, that's why they had a civil war. So he's on one side of it, and he looks to be on the side of not occupying 100% of the world like the late Emperor and Varys are.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if it's Aulus. I don't think he seemed to be on the side of science.
I think it's unlikely that it's Aulus, but it is possible.
Aulus
was on the side of science, but you got to remember that Xenos was the only person that funded the project.
So someone put forth where I was going to go with this.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Final Fantasy XII, I said that when you're a member of a certain legion, there's supposed to be direct parallels to your character and the game through which you came. It was less literal with Xenos up to this point, where other than his obsession and eventual transformation resembling that of Vayne Solidor and his sort of sheer ruthlessness being akin to Vayne Solidor's, he had what felt like almost no connections to Final Fantasy XII, even though we have Ivalice and Dalmasca and all these names dropping now. The one place I was going is that our Larsa equivalent that's upset at hearing about Xenos? Of all the people that get upset about lying about Xenos, would be someone blood related who also has a difference in belief to the whole propaganda thing.
Yeah, well, like I said, that's a distinct possibility as well, that it's someone that we haven't met yet.
I like that. I'm gonna stick with that prediction.
Sure.
And when we see, because what they're gonna do is when we meet that character, they're gonna show us the glove first, and then they're gonna show us the rest of them. So we go, oh, now we're gonna find out. They're gonna do that whole thing. But that was confusing. I really didn't know what to draw for like the first 2-3 days after I played that. I was like, who the fuck is that? I have no idea. But overall, great previews. 3 months, and we'll find out what the hell is going on with a lot of these different outlets. I have a feeling until 4.3 or 4.4, so we're going to keep seeing like one Gharlean cutscene at the end, and that's like all. I know you want Empire Strikes Back, but I think we're still a little bit away.
Yeah, we'll see.
All right. So what else is there? Okay, so we're done with that. Very quickly before we move on to the other piece of meat, Hildebrand. Have you done it at this? Okay.
No,
do you care if we talk about it?
No, I don't care. It's fine.
It actually has almost nothing to talk about.
Yeah, this is a very brief.
Then why are we even talking about?
Oh,
well, because of the preview for 4.2. That's why. So basically, Nashu was trying to get help from what's his face, the Namazu who betrayed us. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. The one who, Gyazo. Gyazo is trying to help Nashu, but he's trying, of course, to do what he did to us. He's trying to do it to her. pretty much. And he doesn't like that we're involved. He sees us and he's like, I'll do it for free. Follow me. I promise I'll help. I don't want to get on his bad side. I got to play this carefully. And Nashu's just looking for Hildebrand. She's like, he's got to be here. So I came here. And
why has he got to be there?
Because he flew to the east. She was like, well, he flew as far east as possible. So she's like, so I thought, I guess I have to go as far east as possible.
And that's as far east as she could get.
Yes, she scrounged up every gill she had and
that's actually some pretty solid Nashu logic.
It is. It's in character. And she figures the best way, well, we help her figure out that the best way to find Hildebrand if he is here is to find if there's an important case going on. And you find out there's, and also that Lalafell is stalking her and says that, and explains why he's been stalking her for these patches, pretty much.
Yeah, why is that?
He saw her in a market one day and fell in love, pretty much. And she's in a faraway place that's not safe. He's the one who sends you in to help her because he sees her with Gyazo. He's like, make sure she's safe.
And she actually realizes it too. She's realized it like long ago that he's always been there. If you bring it back up, like, yeah, I know what you're talking. I pretty much seen him. What else do you have to offer?
Yeah, you can tell her that she has a stalker, and she's like, yeah, I know.
She's probably used to it.
Yeah. She has to be because it's this guy, and she knows it's this guy. He's the stalker who thinks he's doing a good job not being noticed, but she knows the whole time. Yeah. And you find out there's a case where a bunch of people are having stuff stolen, and it ends there. That's it. You find out there's a case, and it's over.
And Gyazo blows up.
And and then there's a random scene that has no implications to the story where Nashu explodes bombs in Gyazo's face, and Godbert does the Manderville in a hot spring. For no reason.
All right.
But the preview is what shows Hildebrand, like, looking at the case. You find out, by the way, there's another detective who's part of the Sekisagumi, who's going to be our, what's-his-face, the Scholastica.
Briardian?
Yeah, he's going to be our Briardian, is this Sekisagumi guy. And we see a welcome friend returning to Hildebrand's story, and that of our good old buddy Gilgamesh. And he is probably going to be our first proposed culprit, but not the actual culprit, pretty much.
So, do we get a Gilgamesh versus Yojimbo?
I don't know.
That would be so good. That would be amazing.
Whatever it is. Well, the thing is, Yojimbo is a paid guard, and he's the thief. So I mean, there's potential for them to clash there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If Hildebrand's like, I'm sorry, paid guard, he's probably just gonna call him Jimmy. He's got Greg and Jimmy.
Yes, finally.
My name is Yojimbo.
It sticks.
Jimmy.
It sticks.
Oh well, good to meet you, Jimmy. Well, I'm Hildebrand, and I'm trying to figure this. Is like, you will not come any closer, and then Gilgamesh steps in, and that's a whole problem. So. Yeah, Gilgamesh, they're bringing him back. I think at this point they've realized Gilgamesh and Hildebrand are kind of core to each other in Final Fantasy XIV, and as much as Gilgamesh could stand on his own, he's better off here as a goof. Dude, Greg and Jimmy. Can we make that that's like a Saturday morning cartoon idea waiting to happen? Can somebody do some art for Greg and Jimmy on it's a Saturday morning cartoon, please? And then Enkidu's just in the middle of them all? I like where this is going. Now we just need Ultros back, and we'll be good. We had him back for the summer event.
We did.
Yeah. It was good to see. It was good to see our buddy Ultros again. So and then that's it. It just pretty much when they call it a preview, it's as preview as you can get. But Gilgamesh is back, so I'm hoping it'll be fun. And they did say when they were asked about Hildebrand that they were considering trials for it again because it was a good motivation to get people to go through it.
Yeah, that's interesting because I actually asked Yoshida about that in San Francisco, and he gave me like a pretty hard no.
Yeah, but they change every 3 months. If you ask them the same question,
you get a completely different answer.
Yeah, there you go. So that's what we're looking at, and I'm looking forward to Gilgamesh returning because without the old people jokes, we need more Gilgamesh.
Daikoro versus Enkidu.
There you go. Oh no, that would be. Oh yeah, that'd be really good if they don't get along as part of the Saturday morning cartoon.
Just the chicken Enkidu.
Yeah, the chicken Enkidu. The chicken is in the preview, by the way. So, yeah, chicken Enkidu. Okay, so with that, then we have the most major other aspect of the story. I mean, there's the Kojin, but we're not done with them yet, so we can't really... It's going well so far, at the very least, I'll tell you that much. We have the Evolution raid. Return to Ivalice. Oh my god, Ethys, don't make that face. Why are you doing that?
I'm just really excited.
Are you?
Yeah.
I would say Yatsumi
and it's
Matsuno.
not just because I was right. Again.
All right, listen, Jesus Asher, whatever you want to call it.
Look, before we get into it, because I've been hearing a lot of people talking about it, worrying about it again, I want to make it absolutely clear. Yoshida is adamant that Final Fantasy XIV, Hydaelyn, our world, stands alone. This is not the same Ivalice. This is not a sequel to Final Fantasy Tactics. This is a completely different place that just happens to share some common themes and common names.
If there's any confusion about that, Bagamnan's alive. that should quell any and all things. And also, Ramza is, well, our Ramza is Garlean, although the old one was not, pretty much. Although they look way too similar to each other. It's kind of creepy that his child just happened to look exactly like the ancient legend of Ivalice.
Yeah.
So we have what basically starts off as the Garlean theater ship. Now, we were wondering why they picked the Prima Vista. We were wondering how many Final Fantasy IX reference there would be. And there really isn't. The Prima Vista, pretty much, other than being a theater ship, is not a reference in any... There's no other references to Final Fantasy IX really hanging out in there. But it's come to Kugane, and they... what's it called? Were recommended by an old friend of ours we haven't seen in a while. The writer for the Mithril...
Mithril Eye.
No,
Mithril Eye.
It's her sister.
Yeah,
it's her sister. Yeah, you say, I know you, and she goes, oh, you know my sister.
Muji.
The Raven Eye,
Muji's sister, yeah.
Yeah, Muji's sister. So she basically introduces us to the characters that are there. And we get the whole explanation from some of our old friends from Tactics about what the hell is going on. It takes a really long... It's a lot of text before you actually get into Ravenastor. Yeah,
there's a lot of build up and a lot of like meat in here.
Yeah, Alma and Ramza just... Yeah. Alma's still a crybaby within 6 seconds, and Ramza's a dick.
He's a piece of shit.
He's like, fuck you, we don't need you. Fuck do we need you for? All right, he says we need you. I'll give you a chance. Let's just go do this.
He's a bitch.
Talk to the fucking hand. All right. But we basically learned that Garlemald had reached a point where originally, like, plays and everything were a big part of their culture. But when eventually, when the last emperor, I think it was Solus, not Varus.
Solus was a big fan of the arts, apparently.
Yeah, but Varus,
Varus is
not so much.
Apparently, putting in like massive sort of censorship and really kind of like cracking down on his whole
propaganda.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And subsequently, the Prima Vista is more or less an outlaw vessel.
Yeah, because they basically their father, Ramza Alma's father, wrote a play, and he snuck in a lot of little things that the people who were reviewing it or the government reviewing it didn't know. And as it began to gain popularity, then they realized it, and they couldn't act because they can't say, well, no, you can't do that anymore, because then they look guilty.
So basically, he's Garland Shakespeare.
Yeah, pretty much. And
like a very literal way.
And I find all of this fascinating because I didn't know how they were going to work into the fact that they kept telling us this was a legend, to the point where it made sense that this was a Garlean airship. And again, one thing that has been constant with 4.1 is the wealth of information about the world building that's present in stories, as opposed to things like the card for Hrodrick, which is still nice, but it's all there in front of you. And I think that's the important thing here. So kudos to Yatsumi Matsuno, Koji, and all the story writers and localization.
They did such a good job of kind of putting this together and integrating it into the world.
Yeah.
So basically, their father, Genomus, is actually... what's his name?
Arslan Darai.
Yeah.
Say that one more time, since both of you were talking at the same time.
Arazlam Durai.
There you go.
And he's the ancestor of the guy that penned the Durai Papers, which is an account of ancient Ivalice, which talks about Ramza and Alma, and it's different from the popular accepted account of Delita, I don't know how to say it, being the hero and all that. So he is basically trying to uncover the truth, and he thinks that the truth is in Ivalice, which is buried under Dalmasca.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, it's buried under Rebanaster. Well, actually, all of Ivalice, yeah. Which
the capital in particular is buried under Rebanaster.
Yeah.
Now, the problem is that Dalmasca has recently rebelled against the Empire, and evidently they decided to do it by using Auracite.
Yeah.
Choice in fighting back against the Empire. So Auracite is something that again is sort of lost to the sands of time in Ivalice, but people have been kind of finding, here and there, uncovering. Genomus himself has managed to find a couple of pieces of it. And the big problem here is that we have a precedent for Auracite and the problems that are wrapped up in it in Final Fantasy XIV, in that it's basically the cause of the void.
Yeah. It's not good.
It was the use of Auracite by the Warriors of Light in the 13th Shard that turned the 13th Shard into the void. So the stakes are incredibly high here, that the locals in Rabanasta have evidently tried to weaponize the Auracite to fight back the Garlands, and they've done that, but the city is empty. Like, everyone is dead. And they never addressed this, which I found really disappointing. Is like, literally everyone is gone.
Either escaped or dead, pretty much.
Yeah. It's like a whole city is just it's done.
It's not a great time in Rabanaster's history, but a great time for us.
And they never, like, they just sort of left these implications about the Auracite and about the rebellion without actually making, I don't think they once made a direct reference to the fact that Dalmasca had been rebelling.
Yeah, not in Rabanaster's story, they did not. It was in the first, maybe...
Really
it was in maybe the first 2 or 3 dialogue options in the main scenario itself, where Lys or Monago mentions that Dalmasca... Actually, yeah, I was going to say, I wasn't them, it was Alphinaud.
Yeah, Alphinaud mentions it. It's really strange. Really, really strange. Yeah, but basically... Well, Auracite are, they contain the essence of primals, and they corrupt the people who wield them and turn them into monsters.
And in Ivalice, those would be known as the Lucavi. Yep,
so
there you go.
That's what we're fighting. We're fighting Lucavi.
Yeah, and they don't mess around. Literally, the gatekeeper is one of the Lucavi, Mateus, who is a man, by the way. Mateus is a male god.
With a female living shield.
With a female living shield, which is that of the ballerina that spins around the arena there, who has her own name that always slips my mind. I always forget the name of the female shield that he has. Then you have Hashmal, and then you have Rafakale, who's not...
Lucifuge.
Yeah.
Lucifuge, Rafakale.
Yeah, Lucifuge, Rafakale.
Yeah, about that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
You had a good time with that, didn't you?
He's easy. I loved it. Like, I loved it because, again, I could do 6 degrees of bar, but I won't. SMT.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah, we don't need to go into Shin Megami Tensei conversations for the 6th week in a row. Thank you very much.
It was a fun fight. Look, it was a fun fight.
It was a fun fight.
A lot of, like, really unique sort of attacks and mechanics.
It was boring. I kind of felt like it was boring.
I will say this: the figure 8 is the most responsive AOE I've ever seen in this game.
Thank you. Somebody finally says it. We have the technology.
I love that, and I really hope they start doing more stuff like that.
We'll probably get it in Ultimate.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, we'll probably get like distance-based AOEs in Ultimate. Hopefully.
And then the last boss is God, I always have such a hard time. Yeah.
Argoth.
Yeah.
Who's a antagonist in tactics.
Yes.
that ends up. Does he? I think he ends up becoming a Lucavi, doesn't he? I think he does.
I don't. He becomes a death. I know no, that's is that Argoth who becomes no. Yeah, is he the one who becomes a Death Knight? I don't think he becomes a Lucavi.
All of the antagonists in that game at some point become. You have to fight them as a Lucavi, and you have to fight them as some kind of undead.
Yeah, that's true.
The game is the story of that game is so dense and convoluted, and I haven't played it for like 10 years.
Yeah, I had to watch other people.
For us.
I tried playing through the Final Fantasy I tactics, and I couldn't get the controls. Just haven't aged well for me, so I got to play like War of the Lions again, or something like that, to refresh myself there. He was supposed to be. He was pretty close to Ramza, but they always disagreed, and eventually he became an antagonist because of it.
Yeah, he betrayed Ramza because he like killed a hostage or something in order to kill someone else.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
They basically disagreed, and he even mentions when you encounter him there, he sees you and he goes, a descendant of House Baluf, which is Ramza's original last name. And
yeah, so he's obviously some ancient enemy of theirs as well.
Yeah. But going into this, this setup, I don't know. I feel like you could tell they gave Yatsume Matsuno kind of free reign here, even though it had to fit within Final Fantasy XIV's universe, because he made sure that if you never played Tactics, you still wanted to be involved here. It was great. It was great fan service, but in every way was it written like Yatsume Matsuno wanted people to see Ivalice for the first time on his terms.
Yeah.
Which was fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, the story is quite derivative, but it's still very compelling. It's not purely fan service. It's very compelling for people that have never seen or heard of Tactics or Final Fantasy XII, I think.
And that's another thing I wanted to ask you, Ethys. So what did you think? How did you feel Rabanastre compared to Crystal Tower and the Void Ark?
I think it feels more cohesive than Crystal Tower did, but I think it's also because I know a lot more about the world than when Crystal Tower first came out. I was like, what's going on here? We didn't know very much about the Pelicans or anything like that. I'm just really excited that this is introducing a whole new history for us, and these ancient civilizations on the other side of the world and their history and timeline going back thousands of years, and the fact that we get to explore all of that now is so exciting.
And that's the thing, we find out that under Rabanastre is indeed the royal city of Lysalia, which is the capital of Ivalice in the game itself.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, literally, we've been to the center of all of Ivalice already. So we know it's fucking there. Like, there's zero debate at this point, and the story becomes about Geonomus eventually he needs to prove Ivalice exists. Pretty much. That's his life goal. That's why he went to the city, he got lost, almost got killed. And why eventually Pagamnon gets his way, because Pagamnon is an asshole, as expected, but he also knows who the Warrior of Light is. He recognized us immediately.
That was weird.
Knows who the Warrior of Light is at this point.
Yeah, he's like, that's the Slayer of Gods, and his crew is like, he's like, yeah, we are not fighting that guy. That is a bad decision waiting to happen. Good to see him show some restraint, because when Balthier was involved, he had no restraint and didn't give any fucks. But when faced with a Slayer of Gods, he's like, yeah, I think we should let this unfold first. And he kind of does what Fornius tries to do, where he lets us do all the work and then tries to reap the reward at the end. Difference is Pagamnon gets his way. He basically takes Geonomus and says, give me the Orosite, and we'll give you Geonomus. My favorite thing was he apparently doesn't like bad jokes, because his crew makes
so good.
His crew makes one bad joke and he's just like,
makes a pun, he just shoots him.
And then he gets up, he's like, you're not that hurt, come on, get up, jump on the ship, we're leaving with or without you. But Gamnon was a pleasure in pretty much every way.
He's fun. I'm looking forward to seeing more of him. So basically where this is going is that Geonomus, in wanting to uncover the secret and reveal the truth of Ivalice, has basically inexplicably brought Orosite back to the world. And That's a huge problem.
Yeah.
Because that could ruin everything for everyone forever.
Especially because we learned Orosight doesn't work the way we initially thought it did.
So you really put Geonomus as the main reason.
Yeah.
Main reason for Orosight.
Well, not the main reason for. It's not like he invented Orosight, but he.
No, not saying that he invented it, but like, I would say it's more indirect. But
So,
I kind of agree with you.
Geonomus is to Ivalice what St. Coinac was to Alec. Basically, before St. Coinac started uncovering elegant artifacts in Mordona, everyone thought it was a fairy tale and nothing more. Everyone thought that Ivalice was a fairy tale. Geonomus found some Orosight. People started digging. People found more Orosight. People found cities underneath the sands. That's what's happened. So he's proved to be the catalyst for this this ancient evil basically returning to the world.
Yeah.
Through word of mouth. Okay.
Yeah, because by digging up old Ivalice, they dug up the relics that were the Orosight that contained the Lucavi. And by simply being in the vicinity of mortals, they can eventually kind of be they can eventually possess the body of and kind of free themselves from said Orosight. So it's going downhill real quick. And remember, the Orosight Begamnon got away with was indeed the one of chaos, and there's fear there that Begamnon becomes the vessel for the Lucavi chaos at some point. So that's where I think it's going.
Yeah, I think it's going in a similar direction to that. That we're going to somehow have to try and collect all the Orosight and destroy them, and that's going to take us to, the other buried ancient Ivalician cities, or wherever else the Orosight is.
I still think we're going to Nabudis and eventually to fuck. I always want to say the Great Crystal, but then that's not. It's the place that contains the Great Crystal. Come on, help me out here.
I'm not real good with tactics.
It's on the tip. It's on the tip of my tongue, guys. Help me out. Not the Great Crystal. The place that you have to go through to get to the Great Crystal.
I'm sure.
Giruvegan. There you go.
Yeah.
And Giruvegan, which could in Final Fantasy XIV universe contain basically the core of where Orosight is found.
Yeah, sure.
So that's where I'm going with it at the very least. Nabudis, another fallen city, as well as Giruvegan, where all Orosight originates, and eliminating that, or sealing that away, which we know Sid is all about sealing instead of, doing anything else. Instead of destroying. He's got a real bad problem with this stuff. Yeah, that's what he's doing. I think that's where we're going. I think it ends with us going up against Ultima the High Seraph, who's the Lucavi guarding the Great Crystal.
Yeah, I think it's definitely going to be something like that.
Could also be Mulan Bay. Yeah.
Just as an aside, and this is going to be a topic for another day and probably another video. As I was kind of thinking about Orosight moving through all this, I have a very strong suspicion now that the Heart of Sabik, the artifact that is used to power the Ultima weapon, probably an Orosight from the 13th Shard.
Wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah. Anyway, like I say, that's a topic for another video.
Sly just blew his fucking mind right there.
Repeat that one more time.
So the Heart of Sabik is the basically the core that is used to power the Ultima weapon. It's something that is older than Alec and was given to Alec by the Ascians. I've got a working theory that it's one of the Orosight from the 13th Shard. And that is basically the mechanism by which Ultima is able to absorb the souls of primals, because that's what Orosight does.
Yeah. It's literally the definition of it, but it's been weaponized to be, because Orosight is not great at containing it, but Ultima acts as a vessel through which to actually contain any primals that are absorbed in the Heart of Sabik.
Then who just handed it to the Garlic?
The Ascians. Oh, you mean? Oh, well, the Ascians are probably how they found Ultima weapon too. Yeah. It's if the Ascians gave the Alag the Heart of Sabik, then when they fell, the Ascians were there. They know where Ultima is, and it's their weapon. So give it to the Garlands, let them awaken it, let them fix it, and then you have your weapon, basically.
And it also explains why the Ultima weapon would be able to cast Ultima.
Yeah.
Anyway, just a working theory, and like I say, pretty much outside the scope of today's conversation, but food for thought.
Okay, so that's food for thought. Well, here's more food for thought. I don't remember. I'll have to watch it again, but this question coming in from the chat. Which aura site is in the box that's in the Prima Vista? They have an aura site on the Prima Vista.
Yeah, they do. There is one. They did like a little zoom into it. Did I take a screenshot of that? No, I did not. I don't know.
I gotta say, by the way, the Prima Vista having sculptures of Bahamut and Leviathan and shit
that was really cool. I want that in housing. Yeah. I want that.
You know how many people were like, "Give me this as a house."
It looks like they're working on a play about us.
Yeah.
Us as the Warrior of Light?
Yeah, I mean, literally look at what they're building. It's anything that the Warrior of Light themselves has.
There's a whole bunch of replica Ishgardian Solarets and stuff around as well.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So it looks like they want to tell the story of Coil. They want to tell the story of Heaven's Ward.
How they would know the story of Coil, I think it's more likely that they would want to tell the story of the Calamity itself, because that's something because they don't know about Coil.
Well,
if they have Aura Sight, who the fuck knows what they know, right?
The reason we first went into Coil was because the Garlands were trying to get in there, right? The Garlands know that we blasted through them and got in there, and you know, they would have gone down later and realized, oh shit, there's nothing down here. The Warrior of Light cleared it out.
Oh shit, there's nothing down here.
Yeah.
Very Garland of you.
I'm sure the I'm sure the Garlands would have worked out by now, more or less what happened in the Vining Coil.
And do you think that? Well, I guess if they are outlaws telling stories, then you wouldn't be too surprised, because they're already not really fans of the laws of story of plays they're allowed to put on. A lot of people seem to think that even without seeing it, it could be Virgo, which would be the Stone of Ultima.
Mm-hmm.
So that's it. Genomus, don't let it happen to you. Don't become a vessel, Genomus. Don't make us do this. Don't make us do the whole fucking Estinian thing where we gotta try to separate you from this thing and.
Was he not possessed by the Argoth?
No, I don't think so. We saw the guy who was possessed, and we saw him vanished. He was just like behind him, and it's like, oh, I'm so glad you found me.
Hang on, I've got as he's vanishing, after we kill Argoth, I've got a line here. I've got a screenshot of him saying, "Where am I? This body, it is not my own. Oh gods, what have I done? Save me, Ramza, save me."
Yeah, I do remember that.
So I saw that and I was like, oh, okay, he's been possessed by Argoth. Because the difference between, for example, what Xenos did and what the Lucavi are is that it is like a reversible process, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I remember the body that you see Argoth become, like the guy who's possessed become him, and it's not Genomus.
Is it not?
I'm 99% sure. I saw that face and I was like, all right.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Mm-hmm.
That line happens, you're right. That's what happens right after you defeat Argoth, but it's not Genomus.
Yeah, so maybe it's Argoth talking to like the historical Ramza, being like, "Oh, what have I done?"
Yeah, because Genomus. Yeah, people are pointing out Genomus is in the background.
You see Genomus in the background. Yeah, you're right. You're right. Yeah, so that is interesting. So that must be Argoth appealing to the ancient original Ramza, saying, "Oh my God, what have I done? Save me." That's interesting.
Pretty much. He lost his sanity thousands of years ago and is now regaining it just before his own death, ultimately. Okay, one last question. Have any of you gotten Alliance B yet?
Yes, a few times.
I haven't. I keep making the 24-man alliances, so I'm in Alliance A every time. I gotta make somebody else make the alliance.
I didn't. Ethys probably read all of it. I just skip past
Dude,
it.
Ethys made his whole alliance. It's like, you go pull Rafael. He's a joke. I'm here. I'm busy. Fuck off.
I took screenshots of all of it, and honestly, there's not much in it.
How do you feel about them throwing it down just one of the 3 paths and the other 2
That's
paths?
fucking stupid.
If it was something super critical, it would frustrate me, but it's really not. It's not. I mean, I can read it all to you.
Yeah, read it. I don't know what it says.
Yeah,
I've never been down that path.
So, the first one says, we departed Lazalia in high spirits, yet it was not long before our mirth turned to misgiving. We found ourselves struggling from the start and sadly obtained nothing of note. We fared ourselves in you, and I pray our next errand meets with greater success. So I think that indicates that there's someone else that's been exploring Lazalia and trying to find some oversight. The next one says, our lives are as fleeting as a dream. What a somber thought. And my thought was maybe this is someone who's got some oversight and is starting to go like a little bit batshit. The next one says, using the crude wooden spoon I was provided, I sip at the thin broth, wondering if it's lentils I taste. It is, of course. Lentil soup is all that I've eaten since arriving in this village more than a month ago, soup being a generous term for this pathetic puddle, trying its best to cover the bottom of my equally crude bowl. Would that my host said even salt to flavor the lukewarm fare, but war erased any hope of trade caravans making it this far. Not that these forsaken villagers have aught to trade. Soon their lot will succumb to hunger, and the desert will reclaim them and any memory of their existence, such as life in times of peril. So I think this is obviously a note written back during the War of the Lions, and that's it. That's all there is.
It's pretty important to have it. It's pretty important.
Yeah, it's nothing, you know. It's just a little bit of flavor, really.
Okay.
I was so sad. I can't. You wanna know what's funny? Alliance A goes on the right path, B goes in the middle, C goes down the left. Someone was like, why the fuck did they do it backwards? I was like, don't Japanese people read from right to left? Could that be the reason? I don't know if that's the reason.
Oh my god.
Well, I remember the first time my friend handed me a manga book, I opened it to the end, and he was like, well, you spoiled it. Well, you ruined it. Yeah, those are good times. Okay. So, yeah, and then now we wait for the next chapter. Also, I'm glad Sid says the reason he can't help is because he's dealing with Omega. Like, I'm glad he acknowledges Omega's... Yeah. Now, do you know if anyone has done that?
We're dealing with Omega. Hang on, we're dealing with Omega. He's like, I don't have time for this because I gotta invent new tasks for the Warrior of Light to do in Omega. It's like, why do you think that we've got time for this? You think that we can just do everything? Like,
no. He has to make another gimbal for the next tier of Omega. We need our new trick to get out of a mechanic in Omega. That's what he's doing.
But Nero made that.
Yeah, Nero made
that's true. That's true. Never mind.
It takes us for granted just a little bit.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. I was like, wow, I'm really glad they mentioned Omega. Because I was wondering, do you think if you haven't done Omega that he has a different line there? He has to.
No, I'm pretty sure that if you haven't done Omega, he'd still mention it.
All right. I thought it was like awfully specific. But you're right, because technically dealing with Omega doesn't have to mean the Delta Scape, because he's been trying to figure out what the hell is in that hole one way or the other.
Still, it was a little bit weird because
I don't have time for this, but this guy who's doing the same thing with me has time for that.
This guy is doing all the hard labor for me in Omega. He's got time.
Yo, he beat all the bosses, and I watched. He's got all the time in the world.
He's fine. He's got this down. He got world first.
Yeah, I'm sure that's exactly what's.
He's just been sitting around waiting for new content. Like, get him in.
Yeah, Anger goes in. He's like, this guy got world first. He beat him before anyone else. So you guys got time. Just give us something to do for 3.5 months. All right.
Yeah.
Listen, he's got a company to. He could have just said that. I'm busy running the Ironworks.
Yeah, that's a lie.
But Jesse's running the Ironworks.
Yeah, and then Jesse would have been like,
oh yeah,
really?
Funny you should mention that. I thought I was the one running the Ironworks.
Yeah, where's Jesse to bust his balls right there?
Yeah, sorry, my headset was starting to run out of battery, so it's making a few dingy noises right now. Since I did this and I pulled it. Yeah. Yeah. But ultimately, this is my favorite story patch. Like overall, outside of Hildebrand being short, And the Kojin so far has been really good.
This is your favorite story patch, period. Not just your favorite point 1.
I think that in terms of and it's clearly the best point 1, point 2, point 3, point 4, and for me even point 5s, with the way that the first one was kind of a weird the Moon Breed of Death was great, but it was just such a weird it was such a weird thing to happen just before Ishgard. Other than it essentially meaning giving us, it pretty much was only there to set up that we were going to do the same thing to the Ascians again, pretty much. And then 3.5 was fantastic, but it was basically one patch cut in half.
Yeah.
So
no, I think I agree with you. I think that the storytelling has been consistently getting better over the entire, I think, like lifetime of the game. It has been consistently getting better and better and better and better. And in particular in 4.0 and 4.1, they've absolutely nailed the pacing, which was a huge issue for me in Heaven's Borders, that the pacing was really inconsistent. And yeah, they're just, it's awesome. And like I said at the beginning of the show, it's gone a long way for me for mitigating a lot of the gripes that we might otherwise have had about this patch. That they've just put so much into the story, and there's so much for us to digest here. I don't know if we'll still be saying that in like a couple of months, but
I mean, I don't feel like a couple months from now it takes away anything from the story. That's when you start setting in, like, if you're not doing rival wings.
No. I'm not saying take away from the story. I'm just saying that like the patch as a whole for me is probably going to get a much higher score because the story was like so perfectly nailed.
Yeah, that's going to be a discussion for another time for certain, is our actual like scoring and breakdown of 4.1 compared to previous patches, especially once Rival Wings and everything has kind of been collectively released.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So that's definitely a topic, but story-wise, there was a clear increase in quality here that wasn't present in previous patches. For that alone, other than it didn't have the strongest impact like the scene of 2.55 in the hall in the banquet room. It didn't have the same impact as Omega versus Shinryu, but as a collective form of narrative, I felt it was the most concise yet world building involved story patch that we have had.
Yeah, they're really nailing the format of having these episodic, like patch-based story progressions. I think it was awesome.
Just
my only concern is, well, we say that this, well, is the Alamigo arc really complete? Do you think it's really complete at this point? Okay, good.
No.
My only concern is them alternating the storyline between Alamigo and then Doma and then Alamigo. Where are we going to see the reconnect?
I think the next arc to come in is gonna have to be like a global problem.
Okay. So you think the next arc is going to reconnect?
Yeah, it's gonna be something that connects them. It's gonna be something that unites this idea of a sort of grand, like, global alliance between Doma and Eorzea. I think that's really, really important. The Garlanes have got to come up with something. If they don't come up with something, then Elidibus has got to come up with something for them, which threatens everything that we've managed to build over these last couple of patches.
And Unity has been the number one top between Ishgard, because you got to remember our boy Emmerich is back there just busy trying to actually get that fucking bridge finished after all these years. I'm just saying, shit's been damaged and nothing's gotten done. Like, can't rely on him for anything. And then we have all these other nations we had to bring together. Like, we had to bring all of them have already been together at some point. Like the assault on Alamigo was Doma, was all of the Eorzean Alliance, and it was the rebels. So when do we? Because if that's a force that can actually fight back against the Garlane province, that's a force that's going to be needed to be the collective power of the next conflict, whatever it may be. So I'd like to think that eventually it's going to boil down to we can't just keep encroaching on Garlemald. We're not conquerors. No. We are liberators at this point. So
I think we're gonna get ballsy one day. I really think we're gonna get
I think
ballsy.
at some point Garlemald's not going to be run by assholes, and it's not going to be an empire.
I agree with that. We had a civil war once. We know that there are elements in Garlemald that are not narcissistic scumbags. I think we're going to end up identifying someone who is maybe some, distant relation of some ancient branch of, the Garland throne, and we're going to end up basically backing them in another civil war, and we're going to fix Garlemald rather than destroy it. Ultimately.
So the both of you think Garlemald's going to implode? Garlemald's going to implode on itself?
It's already It's already starting to a little bit.
I mean, it already has like a couple of times.
And it's been less than 100. It's been what, less than 100 years? It's been like 80, 90 years that it's been the powerhouse that it's been.
Yeah.
So
before then, it was Republic.
Yeah. So it has the history there, and even Ivalice is part of trying to reveal more history about the world and everything. So there's a lot going on here. There's a lot going on, but we have to remember that we can't ever have complete peace, because then our shard ends up completely enveloped in light, and that's not good for anyone. So there's always got to be some sort of conflict waiting for us to make sure it's not perfect. Fucking Elidibus. We're not actually allowed to defeat the Ascians, because if we do, we're just gonna fucking, like, everything's gonna be fucking gone anyway, so we're fucked, ultimately.
Well,
happy news. I don't know, I don't think there's any way around that. I've already seen like 4 examples of shit going down in other shards. Like, it's bad news. Okay, so I think that's a wrap, unless, is there anything that you want to bring up that is available in this patch that we hadn't hit on? I think the only thing that we could have really done more is sightseeing logs, looking at you lamppost, or more of the cards like Roderick's.
Yeah, possibly. There's one little fun bit of trivia that we skipped over when we were talking about Arenvold, is that Arenvold got over the wall in that same operation that Eda sacrificed her life for. So the original Eda effectively sacrificed her life so that Arenvold could get over the wall and be free and end up becoming a scion, which I think was really nice as well. I love Arenvold.
Does Lys know that?
I don't know, but I don't think so, because he mentions it quite offhand to us, like it's not a big deal. I don't think he realizes it. I think he was just part of that group and part of that operation. I don't think he realizes that Eda died there. I don't know, maybe he does. But I thought that was a really nice tie-in as well that might have gone over a lot of people's heads. So there you go.
All right, well, hopefully that's a theme that we'll explore more. Gentlemen, it has been a pleasure, as per always. Now, next week, and Sly, this is more to you, because I don't believe Ethys will be joining us next week. We will have Eorzevia at a later date. There's no more real lore to wait for. Ultimate and Rival Wings, although Rival Wings has this backstory, it doesn't really have any lore behind it. So we'll have to arrange that for something in the future week. So next week is indeed the launch of the Ultimate Coils, the unending Coils of Bahamut Ultimate. So real quick, Sly, what are your plans for the unending Coils of Bahamut Ultimate?
Depends on the static. We might, we're probably going to go in at the same usual time, but yeah, I might try to go in earlier. We'll see. But yeah, we're definitely preparing for Ultimate.
Ethys?
No plans. I'll get around to it. I think I'm just going to watch for the first couple of weeks and see how it goes.
I'm still trying to solidify having a wake-up group for it.
Yeah, I'm not going to kill myself trying to get in there.
I am. I want to talk about it next week. And it's going to be a topic. It's got to be a topic next week.
Absolutely. Do you guys think it'll be cleared by next show?
No. I don't think it will take more than a day or two. I'm in that boat.
Last time we talked about this, you were with me saying that it was probably going to take 24 hours.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It won't be done by next show. The next show is the day of Ultimate launching, so it couldn't be done by the next show.
Well, the next show is like
It's 13 hours after. It's like 13 hours after the patch.
13 hours after it. So you don't think it'll be done?
No, I don't think it'll be done in 12, 13. If Neo X Death took longer than he took the majority of the progression time, that was less than 24 hours. I think this'll. I'm still in the boat that it's like, sub 3 days kind of thing.
Okay.
But not before we start the next show. No.
All right, for sure.
Yeah, because that'd be a fun discussion. Guys, show's Ultimates done, guys.
That'd be a pretty short show.
Yeah, let's talk about the fight, I guess.
Yeah.
It's gonna be fun though. I'm looking forward to seeing what this does, because we lost the dungeon for this. All right.
And I'm okay with that sacrifice.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
I'm okay with that too. I don't do the expert roulette anyway.
Well, we lost the dungeon for squadrons and for
hidden canals. I made like 20 mil in the hidden canals. So I'm doing all right so far.
What, mate?
I got a Thenarian wool. I got a what's the other wool? Oh, a Hainish wool, and I got the Crimson Sunrise, and then just gill drops. Other than that,
dang, dude, 20 mil from how many runs?
I'd say it's probably total 6-7 hours of runs.
That's pretty good.
I've only been inside the hidden canals maybe 8 or 9 times out of like over 100 maps. Those thieves maps are not incredibly common unless you get really lucky, like back to back to back to back to back.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
I'm digging it. It's Dala. So I got to do some of those tomorrow before I hit up Warframe, before going to TwitchCon. All right, so on that note, ladies and gentlemen, I think we can wrap up this lore-filled show now that we are now allowing spoilers on the channel. Should be some fun conversations for the next several weeks. All right, so gentlemen, let us do our sign-offs. Ethys, why don't you, as our very well-timed guest, tell them where they can find you at?
Look, you can actually find me in Melbourne next weekend, for those of you in Australia who are going to be at PAX Melbourne. I'm going to be there. There's going to be a Square Enix booth. There's going to be a Final Fantasy XIV booth for the first time ever. We're going to be doing t-shirt challenges, so you can come and fight some primals and win some t-shirts and get some selfies with me and some other people, and that's going to be awesome. For everyone else, you can find me on Twitter at FFXIV. You can find me on twitch.tv/EthysAsher, youtube.com/EthysAsher, and other social media places. Just Google Ethys. There's only one Ethys.
I'm willing to debate that. I will find another Ethys, and I will present him or her to you.
No such thing. What about Sly?
I just say it like that.
Sly?
Hi.
Alright. You can find me at twitch.tv/Slyakagreyfox. You can find me on Instagram at Slyakagreyfox07. You can find me on Twitter at Slythefox. You can find me on YouTube, youtube.com/TheVelvetRoom. You can find me this week in Long Beach, TwitchCon.
Ooh.
Going to the LBC.
Yeah, boy.
Yeah, boy.
And, like, where can we find you? I'm pretty sure I can find you in the same place.
Yeah, you can find me at Long Beach this upcoming weekend. I have a meet and greet Sunday at 2 o'clock. It was supposed to be 12:30. It got moved to... I'm sorry, it was supposed to be 12. Mine got moved to 2 o'clock. So that's when my meet and greet's going to be Sunday at 2 o'clock. I also have some other stuff planned, but it's not on the official schedule yet, so I'll tell you after I do that stuff, since I don't know if I can talk about the specifics of that yet. But you can also find me, Mr. Happy 1227, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, YouTube, all those fun places. And if you're not at TwitchCon this weekend, sorry, because I'm going to be giving away, as among other things, I'm bringing other stuff to give away to people. Kappa cards. It's me. These are basically Twitch trading cards for broadcasters.
Oh, that's awesome!
And this one's got Aloha. I'm showing it to them because they have a different camera than you guys. It's got Aloha, a Chocobo, it's got a Moogle, and then it's got me looking way thinner there than I am IRL. All right. So anyway, that was my number one takeaway of that. I was like, that's very generous of you to draw me like
that's
that.
unrealistic.
Yeah.
Should have put me on a fat Chocobo at the very least.
Oh my god.
There you go.
I'd love to see someone do the opposite. Someone take that
the Chocobo on my back.
Just transplant you with like a really, really fat you.
I could ask Gears Art to do it. Gears Art didn't do this one. He does a lot of the Kappa card art for Twitch, but it wasn't him who did this one. So I could be like, hey, could you do this one, but make me fat? And he'd just be like,
make me like really disgusting.
He would probably want to make the original artist do it. No, ask her. Ask her. She'll make you fatter. Don't worry. Aloha's too thin also, to be honest. He's got to be fatter in there as well. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to move on over into a short post show. Thank you again. By the way, those plumbers made no noise at this pretty much the entire show.
Well, I told them like there was a 2-hour window where I didn't where like could they please be careful about making noise, but we started.
You told them to shut the fuck up.
Ultimately, yeah.
Yeah, he's shut the fuck up.
Thank you, plumbers.
All right, short post show time because I know Sly wants to wake his ass up and go play more GT Sport, and even though he's probably doing raid, and then Ethys has a day ahead of him.
Yeah, I'm streaming in a couple hours.
There you go. So thank you for joining us this week. We'll see you next week to talk about day 1 of Ultimate Coil. Thank you. Oh, almost forgot. Every week, Sly. Every week. We are in the show so long.
You almost forget it again.
Well, you know what does it? This is why I do what I do. The outro screen has all the names. I can never forget because
Did you already switch over to the outro screen?
No, I didn't, but I'm looking at it. I'm looking at the outro screen. But I want to switch the outro screen while I'm shutting them out so that way everyone can see the names. I think that's not a bad idea. All right, so shout out to our patron sponsors, our Patreon sponsors. Those of you who have provided names who are our official sponsors for the tiers that we have over there. Our standard ones, we have Ignis Fairgun from Diabolos, Phoenix Down Free Company on Goblin, Serren from Zodiark, Hersh Fersh, Themacholuis, Jean-Francois, Goetia, Valefar of Siren, Elisajn Le'ore of Balmung, Rynoet Chikara, Velestra of Famfrit, Elisajn Le'ore from Balmung, and Sour Cream and Chives, which makes me want a potato right about now. Not a lalafell. And then we have our elite sponsors in Tin Colossus, Darklight 2013, Arthur Emil Gaming Bishop, Kiltastic Jones, Raul Jr, Killer Hackman, Ahmed, Kurenai Oni Abdullah, Khuja Cross of Genova, Notting Kurasame, Aqua Sacrifice, Obai Josamji, Rudy Rudiger, Spike, Private Mikey, Johnua Odin of Tonberry, and Ira, and the Avon Blanc Free Company on Zodiark, which is trying to build itself as a new player-friendly free company on that server. So thank you all of you for supporting and helping us with hashtag demonetization on the show. And again, as I said last week, after TwitchCon, we'll look into doing more segments like we did with Host of the Realm, but stuff that's not as one-dimensional as that, not just that again. So thank you again. Now it's officially post-show. We'll see you next week. And until then, take care.
Bye.
See you next week.
And we're good. We are a good